Today in the attic, I found your fingerprint. It was trapped, perfectly sealed within a piece of tape. The tape was attached to a box on one end and a label at the other. The label said, "Cups." The handwriting a familiar scrawl, the extra loop at the top of the C, which sometimes meant people mistook it for an E. And the S, sloping away towards the bottom of the tag. And I waited for the familiar pang of loss. And it never came. They say that when you lose somebody, it is like a bubble in a box. The bubble is large, it fills the box, and for those first few days, weeks, it fills you so completely that you feel like you can't breathe. Then over time, it shrinks, smaller and smaller. It never goes away completely, but it floats around inside you. The bubble of grief. And every so often it bumps against the edges of the box. And you remember that it's there. The smaller the bubble gets, the less it bumps the edges. When I first heard somebody explain this, I think it was in a video online, I liked it. It made sense. But then I started to look out for the bumps, to watch out for the things that might trigger a blip, a pang, a pain in my chest, a lump in my throat, and I'd get anxious, I'll start to panic. I began to fear my own grief. A friend bought me a session at a counsellor. I only went because they paid for it. The counsellor said to embrace my grief. See it as a path to walk, not a wall to climb. They said if I paid £60 for another session, they would talk me through it all. I didn't go back. I traced the word with my finger. The extra loop on the C, the slope on the S. And I placed my fingertip on your fingerprint, pushed down as if I were touching you. I pushed harder and harder, waiting for the surge of grief I should have felt, wishing for it. And nothing came. I opened the box. It was empty. No cups. And then I cried. Not because I missed you, although I do still miss you, but because for a moment I panicked that I'd lost your cups, that you were going to yell at me for losing them. How could you lose all of my cups when I put them in a box with a label on it? Why don't you take better care of my things, of my house? Why did it take you so long to clear out the attic anyway? I wanted to tell you that for weeks the house still smelled of your perfume, and I just couldn't face it, that going through your stuff felt like an intrusion, that the house got so dusted, and I knew that you would hate it, but I'd left it too long, that the thought of trying to clean it overwhelms me and so much, and I just try not to look, that sometimes I call out hi when I walk in and forget that nobody will answer, that I can't call it home anymore because you're not there. As I drove back to my flat, I wondered about the box, the label. Where were you when you wrote it? A uni room, a tiny apartment. Did you know that when you packed up all your cups, you would live in the same house for the next 50 years? Raise children there, see neighbors come and go, share hundreds of cups of tea and coffee and wisdom and love. Did you know that that box would sit empty in your attic all those years with just your fingerprint for company? Did you know that one day everything you owned and loved would be packed up and carted away with just the scent of your perfume left behind? Someday, probably soon, a new owner will climb that ladder and enter the attic and find that box. And they'll see that piece of tape and the label that says cups. But they won't recognize your handwriting or your fingerprint on the tape or my fingerprint on top. But perhaps they'll know that a person who needs a whole box for their cups must have a warm heart, a warm home, and perhaps that is enough.